They heard a black elder, then met her warrior son. She was 74. Walking home from the pharmacy. A mother, a neighbor, a teacher to generations. And in broad daylight. Two officers slammed her to the pavement like her life meant nothing. But they didn't know who she'd raised. Her son wasn't just any man, he was Delta Force. Trained for war. Raised on prayer. And now, he was coming home. What happens when a city underestimates the power of a black mother and the son she raised to protect her at all costs? What came next wasn't revenge. It was a movement. Stay tuned, because this isn't just justice, it's legacy. And trust me, you won't forget the name Laverne Thomas. Subscribe to Behind the Billions for more powerful stories that remind us what strength really looks like. Miss Laverne Thomas had always been a symbol of grace. At 74, her spirit was sharp, her back a little bent, but her walk still proud. She was known in the neighborhood as Mama Laverne, the woman who fed the homeless every Sunday and could quote Bible verses in Maya Angelou with equal rhythm. On this particular afternoon, she was heading home from the local clinic, carrying a brown paper bag of her blood pressure meds and a small box of lemon drops. The sun lit the sidewalk in a warm haze as she walked down Linwood Avenue, her neighborhood of over 40 years. She paused outside the bakery window to wave at the young girl inside, kneading dough. That's when it happened. A black and white patrol car sped up and jerked to a halt right in front of her. The screech of tires made her flinch. Two officers, both white men, one clean-shaven, one with a tattoo creeping out of his sleeve, stepped out, hands already on their belts. "You lost, ma'am?" the tattooed officer asked, ice cold. "No sir," she answered, steady and polite. "I've lived here since before you were born." The other officer sneered. "You fit the description of someone trespassing in this neighborhood." Laverne blinked. "Trespassing? I live on this street." "ID," he snapped. "I don't have it on me right now." Before she could finish, the tattooed cop grabbed her wrist. "Ow. You don't need to touch me like that." The man yanked her forward, causing her to stumble. Her handbag hit the ground, spilling her medication and keys. She cried out as the second officer twisted her arm behind her back and forced her onto the sidewalk. A bystander pulled out their phone. "Yo! What are y'all doing? She's somebody's grandma." As she lay there trembling, face pressed against the hot pavement, Laverne's trembling fingers found her phone, cracked but still working. Through sheer instinct, she pressed and held the emergency contact button. 3,000 miles away, in a military facility deep in the Arizona desert, her son, Major Elijah Thomas, was reviewing satellite footage in a secure room. His phone buzzed. He never picked up during operations. But the name Mama glowed on his screen. He answered, and all he heard was chaos. Her voice, crying. Men yelling. A distant scream, "Stop hurting her." Then, her voice came through, shaky and breathless. "Elijah, baby, they got me." He stood up so fast, the chair toppled behind him. "Hold on, Mama. I'm coming." And just like that, Elijah, a decorated Delta Force intelligence commander, come under pressure, steel in battle, was no longer a soldier. He was a son. And his mother was under attack. Elijah's boots hit the runway within 8 hours. There were no official orders. No military deployment. Just a one-word reason on the leave request line: family. When you're Delta Force, nobody asks twice. Elijah was a man forged in silence. Trained for missions that never made headlines, the kind that governments denied ever happened. But the moment he heard his mother's broken voice on that call, something deeper than duty woke up inside him. It wasn't just pain. It was violation. A wound to everything she stood for. This was the same woman who used to wait outside his high school football practices with hot peach cobbler in hand. The same woman who worked 2 jobs and still managed to iron his ROTC uniform every Sunday night. The same woman who sat front row when he was awarded the Bronze Star for a rescue mission the world would never know about. And now, thrown to the ground like a threat? By men who didn't even know her name? Unacceptable. As the jet descended into his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, Elijah stared out the window, jaw clenched. His mind wasn't on vengeance. It was on precision. He wasn't coming back to yell. He wasn't coming back to fight. He was coming to expose. To make sure everyone saw what they tried to cover. As soon as he landed, Elijah changed into a clean black hoodie and jeans. No badges. No rank. Just a man on a mission. His first stop wasn't even the hospital. It was the incident site. The sidewalk still bore faint traces of dried blood, his mother's blood. A knocked-over trash bin lay a few feet away, likely from her fall. A woman standing outside a salon recognized him instantly. "You must be Miss Laverne's son," she said quietly, eyes wide. He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "She was just walking home," the woman said, shaking her head. "They treated her like she didn't belong. Like we never belonged." "Did you see it?" "Didn't have to," she said, tapping her phone. "It's all here." She showed him the video, grainy, shaky, but clear enough. The officers' faces. The way they shoved his mother. The moment she screamed, "I didn't do anything." And the crowd around them growing louder. Elijah took a deep breath. The soldier in him filed every detail like evidence. The son in him wanted to cry. Instead, he whispered, "They hurt the wrong woman." With the video saved, Elijah finally walked into the hospital room where Miss Laverne lay resting. Her eyes fluttered open. A weak smile spread across her lips. "Elijah," she whispered. "My sweet boy." He knelt beside her, gently touching her bandaged hand. "I'm here now, Mama. I've got you." And behind that calm voice was the quiet storm of a man who knew how to bring truth to light. They weren't ready for what was coming. Word travels fast in tight-knit black communities. By the time Elijah stepped out of the hospital room, the church deacon had already called the neighborhood watch. The school counselor who once taught in Laverne's Sunday school class was texting parents. Someone had even posted the surveillance angle from the nearby barbershop. By sundown, Miss Laverne's face was everywhere, bruised but dignified. And next to her was a caption that lit up the city like a match to gasoline. "They beat a grandma on her own street. Her son is Delta Force." Elijah didn't say much publicly, not yet. He let the footage speak first. But quietly, methodically, he began pulling strings most people didn't even know existed. He contacted a friend from his Army intel days, now working cybersecurity at a major news outlet. Within hours, the raw video footage was verified and sent to a national reporter. He reached out to his former military mentor, now a congressional aide, and said just 7 words. "The footage drops tomorrow. Be ready." But Elijah also knew this battle wasn't won in federal offices or newsrooms. It was won on the ground where his mother had bled. So that's where he went. On the steps of New Hope Baptist Church, Elijah stood before a small crowd of neighbors, older women in choir robes, young men with fists clenched, teens still learning where to aim their anger. "She's not just my mama," Elijah began, voice steady, "she's your mama too. Because if they can do this to her in broad daylight, they'll do it to any of us." People murmured. Heads nodded. "I didn't come here to scream. I came here to build. To expose. To make it undeniable." He held up a tablet and played the footage on the church's projector wall. Gasps. Cries. A few people walked out, too angry or too heartbroken to sit still. Then he played another clip, a live stream from TikTok where a teenager had spoken, eyes wet. "That lady bought me lunch when I couldn't afford school food. That's Miss Laverne. And y'all cuffed her like a criminal." The dam had cracked. By nightfall, #Justice for Laverne was trending. The police department put out a 2-sentence press release: "We are aware of a developing situation. An internal investigation is underway." Too late. Local news vans parked outside City Hall. A civil rights lawyer who once worked the Trayvon Martin case tweeted, "Just saw the footage. Miss Laverne didn't fall, she was pushed. And her son? Let's just say Birmingham is about to feel the pressure. And through all of it, Elijah stayed calm. Because this wasn't just justice for his mama. It was a reckoning for every elder who had ever been treated like they didn't belong. And in the city where she had fed the poor, taught the young, and walked with grace, her walk had now become a movement. Elijah didn't storm into the precinct. He walked in calmly, like a man who already knew the ending. The receptionist glanced up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Elijah replied. "I'm here about Officers Jennings and Cole. I believe they assaulted my mother, Laverne Thomas." Her smile froze. The room, once buzzing with idle chatter, fell silent. "I have footage. Eyewitnesses. Medical reports," Elijah continued. "And a mother who raised half this neighborhood, now lying in a hospital bed because 2 of your officers decided her skin made her suspicious." A junior officer stepped forward. "Sir, we're conducting an internal." Elijah cut him off without raising his voice. "That internal investigation? I already sent the video to CNN. Internal won't be enough." He placed a flash drive on the counter. On this drive are 5 angles of the assault, synced with audio. Every moment. Every word. Including when your officer said, "You don't belong here, lady." The front desk sergeant glanced nervously toward the hallway. A lieutenant appeared moments later, looking flustered. "Mr. Thomas, we understand this is a difficult." "No," Elijah replied, stepping forward, his eyes unblinking. "You don't understand. Because if you did, those men would already be suspended. Instead, I had to fly 3,000 miles just to protect my mother in her own neighborhood." The lieutenant looked at him, really looked. "Are you military?" "Delta Force," Elijah answered. "Which means I've seen war zones with more honor than this place." That's when things started to shift. By noon the next day, Officers Jennings and Cole were both placed on administrative leave. The footage had been authenticated by a national media outlet. Civil rights groups were calling for formal charges. And the mayor of Birmingham issued a statement. "We failed Miss Laverne Thomas. And we must be held accountable." But Elijah wasn't finished. He met with the city council and demanded 3 things. Immediate suspension without pay for the officers involved. Public acknowledgement of wrongdoing and an apology to his mother, not behind closed doors, but on the same sidewalk they assaulted her. Policy change, mandatory de-escalation training and body cam footage released within 48 hours of any forceful arrest. "You have a chance," Elijah told them, "to be the city that gets it right. Don't miss it." Outside the meeting, protesters were growing louder. But now they weren't just chanting. They were organized. Peaceful. Powerful. Signs read. "She raised us all. Delta Sun, City on Notice. Protect our elders, not just your ego." Back at the hospital, Laverne watched it unfold on TV, her voice soft. "My boy," she said, hand over her heart. "He's doing what I taught him. Just louder. Because when your mother taught you strength through kindness, even your fight for justice comes wrapped in dignity." 3 weeks later, the city of Birmingham looked very different. It started with an official press conference. Cameras lined the steps of City Hall. News vans filled the block. And right in the front row, in a wheelchair with a silk scarf tied around her bruised neck, sat Miss Laverne Thomas, a queen in her quiet glory. The mayor stepped to the podium, flanked by city council members and the new acting police chief. He cleared his throat. "Miss Thomas. I'm sorry. On behalf of this city, I'm sorry. What happened to you wasn't just wrong, it was un-American. It was inhumane. And it will never be tolerated here again." Applause rang out. Some were emotional. Others stood silently, heads bowed in shame or solidarity. Then came the moment no one expected. Elijah stepped forward, dressed in his full military uniform, medals shining against his chest, his presence commanding yet respectful. He looked out over the crowd and then at his mother. "I didn't come back to cause chaos," he began. "I came back because the woman who raised me to protect others was left unprotected by those who swore they would." He paused. "Some people asked me if I was angry. Truth is, yes, I was. But anger without direction is destruction. My mother taught me that." He turned toward the police department's representatives. "So I took my anger, and I pointed it toward justice." The crowd roared. That same day, the Birmingham City Council unanimously passed the Laverne Thomas Community Dignity Act, mandating immediate public release of all body cam footage within 48 hours of use of force incidents, strict anti-profiling policies and neighborhood familiarity training for all officers, and a brand new civilian oversight board with rotating community elders. Miss Laverne was the first honorary chairperson. Back home, as reporters cleared, and neighbors brought over peach pies and cards, Elijah wheeled his mother onto her front porch, the same porch where she had raised him, prayed over him, fed stray cats and crying children alike. "Mama," he said quietly, "you good?" She looked out across her street. The sidewalk was clean now. The grass freshly trimmed. A new mural painted across the wall of the bakery red. She walked in love, we marched behind her. Laverne nodded, eyes glistening. "I'm proud, baby," she said. "Not just of what you did, but how you did it." Elijah smiled. "I learned from the best." The camera fades as the two of them sit in silence, the late afternoon sun casting a golden glow over them. This wasn't just the end of a story. It was the beginning of change. Because they hurt a black elder. But they forgot something. She didn't raise a victim. She raised a warrior. And now, a city would never forget her name.